everyone. My name is Emily, and I'm our Director of Programs for 11th grade here at Attollo Prep. And today I'll be hosting our Professional Development Series, where I have Sarah Lesser, who is the Senior Vice President of Middle Market at Truist.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
This lovely afternoon. Yeah. As always, I love to open up with this question. Where are you from, and what were some of your hobbies growing up?
Sure. Well, as we were mentioning earlier, I am from Ohio, Canton, Ohio, about an hour south of Cleveland. And born and raised there. My parents are still out there. My hobbies, I was a big runner. I still like to run a lot. Knee problems have kind of slowed that down a little bit, but running, I was in karate as a child. Yeah, so now one of my daughters is doing it, so it's fun for me to watch her. Fun. Yeah, and learned a lot, more than I appreciated at the time through that experience. Played basketball, kind of three-sport athlete, just, very busy as a child and teenager, so it was great.
Very subtle, just, a three-sport athlete, no big deal.
There were 3 seasons. I had to do something in each one of them, so it was,
I love it. On top of karate?
I finished that in 8th grade, so I freed up my high school time for.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yes.
So if we were in Ohio, how did we come here?
Yeah. Good question. I asked myself that. So long circuitous route to Lancaster, but started at Vanderbilt for undergrad, and then I did Navy ROTC in college. So went out to San Diego for 4 years, served on 2 different destroyers out there. And after that, I went to grad school down in Durham at Duke, got my MBA, met a guy who ended up being my husband. And he got a job up here at the Hershey Company. And so, again, I had interned at ExxonMobil in Houston in corporate finance for them. And I thought I was going to go back there, or maybe New York or Chicago, where all of our other friends were going. And he said, well, I'm moving to Hershey. And I said, oh, okay. Well, then I have to figure out what I'm doing. And luckily, M&T Bank at the time recruited on campus and had a job opening in York, Pennsylvania. And so we picked Lancaster because of the commutes. And 12 years and 3 kids later,
we're still here.
We are. Yeah.
I love it.
Funny how that happens.
Thank you so much for your service. I actually would love to dive into ROTC a little bit, as that is something that my university had as well. And I had a lot of friends who went through the program, and I think it is a great option if that's something that you want to do with your life and also get a college degree. Could you talk a little bit about, especially for our students who will be watching this, what made you decide to go into ROTC and what your experience was like?
Sure. So I actually initially was going to go to the U.S. Naval Academy. So when I was running cross country in high school, there were a couple other alumnas who were of the cross country team who were at the academy. And so they, brought me down, and I got to spend time there. And I mean, beautiful campus. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. And I was accepted and going to go there. And then my mom said, well, what about another option of ROTC? My dad had done Army ROTC. And I thought, well, that gives you the college experience plus the military, kind of preparation. And, after going on some campus visits to other schools, I was like, maybe I want a life outside of the military before I have to go into the military, and kind of have the best of both worlds there. And so it ended up, and I chose ROTC, number one, it helps that it's a full ride for college, but also because I didn't know what I wanted to do after school. I knew I wanted to lead people. I knew I wanted, to be in business at some point, but I didn't know what I wanted to do as a 22-year-old. I couldn't commit to that. And I knew, ROTC, you have a 4 or 5 year commitment, and then you're free to do whatever you want. And talk about a good, 5 years of your resume, of your life, and the experiences that you get are really, separate you from the pack in terms of other recent college grads, just in terms of leadership and the exposure that you're, given at such a young age. So I thought that was a neat,
a little bit of job security too, post-grad.
Well, and it was super nice senior year of college when all of my friends were stressing out and either taking the GMATs or the LSATs or trying to apply for jobs. And I was like, well, I'm good. I've got something locked up for 4 years. And, it was a great experience because it introduced me to people on campus I would have never met, from my dorm silo or sorority silo or anything else, so just a great group of friends from that class.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
and I love that you describe it as the best of both worlds, and I will be taking that phrase when students ask about ROTC in the future. But diving into your military service a little bit more, what did military service teach you that other career paths may not necessarily? And what did you carry on now?
Well, again, it made me grow up a lot faster than some of my friends, especially after graduation. So I packed up all my, my little worldly belongings that fit in the back of a Ford Explorer and, drove out to San Diego. And on the weekend of July 4th, I was on a plane to Guam, meeting my ship which had just started deployment 3 weeks earlier. It had transited the Pacific. I was meeting it in Guam, and then I was on a 5.5-month deployment as a 22-year-old. And, I had friends who were, number one, still trying to find jobs, living at their parents' house, maybe starting out with their own careers. But that makes you grow up real fast. And, I did it kicking and screaming, right? It wasn't oh my gosh, I'm so excited, ready for this. It's oh no, I have to stay and watch from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. and then, start the day, full work day on the ship. And we were out to sea for about 40 days at one point. And you're working with people who have been in the Navy for 20 years and know everything. And I was a Spanish major, so I knew, I didn't know anything about sonar or submarines, and that's the division I was assigned to. So it just, they throw a lot at you and you better keep up. And so looking back, I don't know how I did it type of thing, but you do. You ask questions. Humility really helps. Just understanding that you don't know everything at all, you know nothing. And so going in, just wanting to learn, showing an interest in people, and they'll help you every step of the way.
And those sound like great qualities in a leader, is being able to admit when you might not know something, to really have an open mind and all of that. So it seems like there were some good nuggets from that experience as well.
Yeah, and you learn by watching, again, some of your peers and their approach to things, or your leaders on the ship, and you're like, when I'm a leader, I'm not going to do that. But this seems like a good trick that they're using, or just some skills that you pick up real time. Yeah.
Very cool. When did you decide that you wanted to pursue an MBA?
So that was kind of always in the cards. Like I mentioned, my dad did Army ROTC, and then he got his MBA and went into actually the HR field. But I always thought that was a good career path because I wanted to be in finance. I liked numbers. My mom was she was a financial planner for her entire career. But to go right from the military to finance was kind of a hard bridge to cross. You had to do something to, again, solidify that resume and show that you have the skill set that companies are looking for when they're hiring. So that's why I decided to pursue my MBA.
Very cool. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that full circle moment. And so now we're in finance. For students who may not know, what exactly is middle market banking?
Great question. I did not know that existed when I was...
And why does it
matter? Another good question. I didn't know any of this existed when I was in high school at all. Zero knowledge of it. But now that I live it every day, I'm so happy I found it because, again, when I was in grad school, there were really 3 tracks of finance that you could pursue. You could be an investment banker, a wealth manager, or in corporate finance, internal managing the finances of ExxonMobil, which is what I did my internship in. And I didn't, on full transparency, didn't want to work investment banking hours because
that is so real.
I had done that in the Navy, and I was like, I need a life, and I want to have a family, and I just don't want to do this 24/7 thing anymore. Wealth management didn't appeal to me as much. It's a great career path, but I didn't want to help rich people get richer. That's great for some people, and that's their calling, but I wasn't appealing to me. And then corporate finance, I did that at ExxonMobil, but it didn't allow me to get back into the community as much as I saw my mom do when she was at Raymond James. And so again, luckily M&T came on campus and they said, what about this middle market thing? And I said, what is
that?
Yeah, what is this? And so commercial banking, middle market banking is a function that all large financial institutions have. And we work primarily with privately owned, so think family owned or private equity owned companies, and help them grow. So provide capital in terms of buying new equipment, you're building a building, you're buying a company. Expansion capital, and also all of the cash management functions that go with it, because cash moves in and out of large companies every day, and a lot of it. So we help make sure that's streamlined, that's efficient, and they're secure too, fraud prevention, protection, because that's a real threat to companies. Yeah.
Does that have a unique, how do I put this? As a transplant myself, I'm still learning a lot about Lancaster, but I've noticed, especially in the city, if I'm going to get coffee, I'm going to a local coffee shop. It feels like a lot of the businesses here are businesses that would probably benefit from a middle market. Do you find that is the case here in Lancaster? And if so, why is it so important that people like you are here?
Yeah, it's what I love about Truist and our model is that it is local matters, especially to your point, Emily, in a community like Central Pennsylvania, Lancaster, York, Harrisburg. It matters that your relationship manager knows what's going on in the community, that the bank appreciates the community that it's in, supports and gives back, because the more successful Lancaster, and again, I cover the broader Central PA region, but the more successful we are, the more successful Truist is, Fulton is, M&T, all of these banks, because our capital is invested in the companies and essentially in the workforce, because we're loaning money to these companies, and if they're successful, then we get paid back. And that's what we need to be, that's super helpful for our business model.
Absolutely.
But I love that I get to be here, live in the community, work in the community, but also give back and be an advocate for Lancaster, in the broader Truist, footprint, because we're headquartered in Charlotte, so we are a big bank, but it's great because we have resources of a large financial institution that we can bring to companies locally that, we have you process these widgets. Well, we have a customer in Atlanta that does the same thing and they're doing this. Have you thought about this idea? So that, kind of cross-pollination of ideas, again, that maybe our customer here would never have heard of that Atlanta company if not for, the relationships we have.
Oh, so. I love that. And I also really appreciate the acknowledgement that the success of other banks is important too. Everyone has a role to play.
Yes.
Which I think is just another example of you having great leadership qualities.
Well, it's true. And I probably wouldn't have said that maybe 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Again, I think that comes with maturity and time and role and just seeing how the ecosystem evolves. But I have, begrudgingly, but I think it's healthy to accept a bank can't be all things for all people. So there are banks that are very good at XYZ and there are banks that are good at ABC. And so it's, finding the right fit for the company and the customer. That's really important, because if it's not a good fit, everybody knows it, it's uncomfortable, and it's not in everyone's best interest.
Sounds very similar to the college process.
Right, that's absolutely.
Which I'm like,
yes.
Especially given the work that Attollo does.
Yes,
I can
that's
be
a good analogy.
very prideful of my alma mater and still say that might not be the best fit for you.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean that my decision to go there wasn't
correct.
A great decision. Absolutely. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, see?
Great.
Yeah.
We can use that now when we talk to high schoolers about banking. You also mentioned how important it is to invest in your community, which is something that I deeply align with. And my understanding is that you're specifically passionate about economic empowerment for women, and you've served on boards such as Milagro House and the Boys and Girls Club Foundation. So thank you for that service as well. What drives this passion? Where did this stem from?
Well, again, seeing my mom in finance my whole life growing up, and she was the breadwinner for our family. And
pop off.
Right, I know. So it was great. So I never knew anything else, and I thought that was totally normal. But then, again, as you grow up and open your eyes and see the world around you, sometimes that's not always the case.
Absolutely.
But studies prove it. There's tons of stats about it. When women succeed, everybody succeeds. They lift people up. Sometimes they're the primary caregiver, and they need to be successful and make money. And I also think at times there's a culture, just a pervasiveness of women are scared to ask for more money, make money, be proud of being the breadwinner, and just, to your point, pop off and just like own it, right? And so I think the more that we can spread the message that it's okay to be financially successful as a female and like be proud of yourself, like that's a huge accomplishment.
I love it.
It's great. Yeah. There's
also,
nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
Alex, that was a soundbite. When women succeed, everyone succeeds. That was great. I want that on a t-shirt.
There you go. Yeah, it's true.
How do you think financial literacy specifically influences generational change? Because I'm hearing from you that you saw your mom being super successful, and it almost seems like it was a given that you were going to be successful too, because that is what you're seeing.
Yeah.
How can we kind of influence other people in our community who may not have had that experience to understand the importance of financial literacy?
I think you can't be afraid to talk about it and educate and just make it, again, less of a taboo to talk about money and how to make money, how to save money, how to invest. All of those, are very foundational tenets of future wealth, accumulation, and also, just being able to maintain it. And so as when you talk to high schoolers, and Truist has programs like this for our clients, and just kind of financial literacy education, because again, if I was lucky, I grew up in a household that talked about it, but to your point, a lot of people don't, and we don't talk about money. We just, maybe you get an allowance, maybe you don't. But the more we can just normalize it and make those conversations part of the everyday, we just need to do that because it's so critical. You read really sobering statistics about Gen X, I guess now, is like getting ready for retirement, and they don't have enough saved in their 401ks. And again, as Gen, Z is in the workforce and Gen Alpha behind them, like we have to start saving and we have to own it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
It sounds like starting and opening up the conversation is the first step. But what other barriers do you see women still facing in business leadership, and what kind of needs to shift in order for those gaps to close? Because this is all connected.
Oh yeah, I mean, there are so many systemic issues that we don't have. Don't get me started. But I mean, in all seriousness, career choice is a very important thing for everyone, but women in particular, because again, like it or not, I am the mother of 3 children. My husband is a wonderfully supportive spouse, and obviously super lucky to have him. But a lot of kind of the mental load and some of the day-to-day kind of tasks fall to women just by default. Let's just call it what it is. And so I deliberately picked a career in commercial banking. I could have done investment banking. I could have made a lot more money, but I would have been working all the time. All the time. And so commercial banking, middle market banking is a lot more flexible. I have control over my schedule. I choose when I get to meet with my clients, and obviously I have to work hard. Like that's a given, there's no doubt about that, and you have to be good at your job. But you also have some flexibility with that role that, other careers just don't. And that's, and whatever your passion is and whatever you want to do, just eyes wide open of what that entails and the trade-offs, because they're going to be trade-offs no matter what, right? Like, Absolutely. Again, I traded off probably more money rising through the ranks faster for kind of a balance, loose term. Yeah, but there's some of that.
So it seems like almost a theme of in this conversation, in order to break down some of the barriers, it's being open and honest with ourselves about okay, what actually are your goals? And it's okay to have a goal of wanting a family. It's okay to have a goal of wanting to make a lot of money, and then being open to understanding what, I don't want to say consequences are, but what does that look like? What
does reality look like? Yes. And again, you talk to 27-year-old Sarah graduating with her Duke MBA, I would have been CFO when I was 37, right? Like that was it. Like I wanted to be on the Fortune 500 cover, whatever magazine. But then life happens and you realize what really matters to you. And again, maybe that's what you want to do, and that go for it. Like, do it. That's awesome. But, you entertain other job opportunities as it's a long career. You're working a long time. And so you have to think about what is best for you and your family at that moment in time and go from there. Because, there are real trade-offs.
Absolutely. You mentioned the idea of being a CFO, and so that just brings me to think of other executive roles for our young female scholars who are interested in finance and leadership and or I guess executive roles, because you can do all of it. What advice would you give them right now?
Yeah, I would say, again, don't be afraid to go after what you want. Do not be afraid to, take those hard classes. I mean, even in grad school, in my finance classes, there were maybe 2 or 3 other women in my finance classes, even, in what was it, 2012?
So not that long ago.
Right. It now seems long, but still, it wasn't we were still preaching lean in and all of that, right? And there just weren't that many. And I know that finance careers pay more than others. And again, I'm not saying do it for the money, but do what you want, but also don't be afraid if you're the only one in the room, at the table. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard was from a woman executive at Exxon who said, if I'm in the room, I'm going to ask a question because I'm going to engage. I'm not just going to sit there because I've been invited to be in the room for a reason. And so they want me there, they want my voice. And so I've always loved that advice, that even if you're the most junior person or any, just own your position in the room and be there and make it valuable and network like crazy. I think that is super important, and I think that's the fun part of any internship or job is just inviting people to have a cup of coffee with you, just to learn what they do. Because again, even at Truist, there are 50,000 employees there. So there are so many jobs open that I don't even, I know roughly what I could do in career paths, but there are new things all the time. So the more people the more you're on people's radar, the better, the more opportunities that you'll have. So
absolutely. That is something that we instill in our high school students. We actually have a retreat coming up for our seniors in which there's a whole workshop on how to make a LinkedIn profile, which is something that I definitely did not have when I was in high school. So on this theme of networking, how do you approach it? Or what advice would you give to someone who's approaching it when, we can tell ourselves, you got this as much as possible, but sometimes you really are the only woman in a room.
Right,
So,
I would say, again, I'm just going to use an internship as an example. I would say when you're at your internship, talk to either your boss or, I'm sure there's a class of a cohort that you're with, but see who they think you should meet, and just be very open about that and say, I would love your help in connecting with people outside of this function or this, team that I'm on, just to get a broader, kind of subset of what is out there at, let's just say Truist or wherever, whatever company. But, ask for help. People like to help. They like to feel like they're connecting. And they want you to succeed. Again, if it's your boss at your internship, he or she's probably measured on how you perform.
True.
And so,
true.
the more they can help you, it probably looks better for them.
True. You are a reflection of the people that you're working for.
Right.
And I also love that you propose the question of who do you think I should meet? Because immediately that makes me think of what are the skills that you see that I have that I might not see in myself?
Right.
And what have I, what kind of impression did I make on you that you now want me to meet this person? I'm going to ask that question now. Kind of going back into thinking about our students, where they are now, and just financial literacy. A lot of our students don't understand banking. Frankly,
again,
I'm still learning.
I had a checking account, I think, when I was 18. I didn't have a credit card.
Yeah. And so, what is one concept about money, credit, capital that you think every young person should know before entering adulthood? And I'm going to expand on that a little bit and say it might be in adulthood right now.
Asking for a friend.
Possibly.
I would say automatic 401k contributions. Just automate it. Yeah, just set it and forget it, and you will never know that it was not in your paycheck. So just pick a percentage that you can, kind of stomach and live off the remainder, but just set it and forget it and don't worry about it. Like, just let it go into your 401k and it'll grow and it'll be beautiful. And don't do what my wonderful husband does, which is constantly check his retirement accounts and our investment. I'm like nothing has changed. I mean, yes, maybe it moves up and down, but like, we're not doing anything with the money. Like, we're just going to leave it there. So like, don't stress about it. There's no stress because we're not going to touch it and it's going to be fine. So it's again, you look at the history of the market and the performance of the stock market over 30 years, it doesn't matter what time period, it goes up. So again, that's knock on wood. That has always proven to be true. So set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it.
Let it ride. Yeah.
Love, love, love. In your opinion, what habits separate financially confident leaders from those who struggle either personally or professionally?
Yeah, I think it is just, again, and start young too. That's another really important tidbit because, again, compounding interest and the magic of that is just irreplaceable. So when you invest, again, there are stats, invest $100 when you're 20 versus 40, like
insane.
Yes, like just silly. So again, just having that security and being able to make your decisions not based on desperation and based on, to your point, confidence and just knowing that whatever I decide, if I get in a bad situation, I can walk away, or if I take this risk and it doesn't pan out, my family's okay. Like, that is huge. And so it's important, again, and not everyone has that luxury, right? Like, I'm not trying to say that this just comes and it's easy. Like, you have to work and you have to get a job where, again, you can live off of, but also, put some aside. And so sometimes early in your career, that means probably sucking it up and maybe have a job that you don't love, but you get to establish that nest egg and or pay back those student loans or whatever it is. Because I actually read there was a finance kind of columnist in the Wall Street Journal he did it his whole life, 40 plus years. And he passed away recently. And one of his top pieces of advice for young people was, don't follow your passion right out of college. Like, do something where you get paid, that you can't hate your job, but like, do something that's valuable to you, that speaks to you, but also that you make money. And then when you're you put away that nest egg, and then when you're 45, 50, then you have the whole world open to you and you can walk away from whatever. And again, it all depends, but that's just it. I thought that was a really interesting piece of advice because you always hear, follow your passion, do what inspires, and all of that is great, but you have to have money, like, to function in the world. I mean, So people don't talk about it as much, but you have to be able to live and have a comfortable standard of living.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that has been kind of an ongoing theme of our conversation is actually just being honest with ourselves and not beating around the bush as often occurs.
Yes.
So I appreciate your honesty.
Like, I'll just do this for a couple years and then I'll but will you transition into, you need to establish yourself and just do something that makes you happy and something that can support you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have some just like personal reflection type questions to close us out. Yeah. So outside of work and community service, what brings you joy or helps you recharge?
Yeah. I don't know if they help me recharge, but my daughters bring me a lot of joy. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah. So no, my family's awesome and I love them to pieces. They're 3 girls, so that's really fun for me as a mom. 7, 4, and 7 months. So there's a lot going on.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're in it, and
oh my
but
goodness.
It's great. Yeah,
you are in it.
Yes. very much so.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you have a daughter named Emily, so you're
I
really
do,
just
right.
great
I
at
know.
naming your children too.
I am, yes. Yeah. Emily Sarah, actually. Is her name. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I wanted her to be Sarah, but Chris said no.
And you know what? I think that was a great. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
If you could go back to your 17-year-old self,
Okay.
what advice would you give her about ambition, leadership, and confidence?
I would say I would say go for it. Just do, again, like we talked about, like go as hard as you can, especially, again, your 20s are like such an awesome time in your life, right? Like I loved my, not that I don't love this stage, but like, again, you look back, everything's great. There were no problems, but your 20s are awesome. You have, again, I'm speaking on my behalf. I had freedom. I had, I was living my best life in San Diego, but I had all the time in the world to devote to a career and do well at it. And, again, my children are amazing, but they are a distraction. And they're, I have to spend a lot of time with them and, sometimes can't always focus on the career, go. So I would say just go for it, but also have grace, because again, 20, yeah, I know,
that's the hard part,
super hard, and I still am not excelling at that to this day,
and that's
right?
okay.
Because there's always that 27-year-old Sarah that's like, you should be CFO of something by now, and it's like, but I just can't, I just cannot do that right now, and so that's okay.
Go get it and give yourself grace.
Right, yeah.
All right, my last question for you today. What legacy do you hope to leave, both in business and in our community here in Lancaster?
Yeah. Oh my, I hope, again, this is Pollyanna pie in the sky, but I hope that the stories I tell and the time I put into this community resonates with at least a few individuals, and especially women, to not be afraid to ask for what they want and, make a better life for themselves. And just don't be scared and have the confidence to just do it. I think that's so important. And I was so blessed to come from an upbringing where I was never discouraged and, always supported in any endeavor. And so I just hope that for the community. I hope that for my daughters, hopefully I'm raising them in that vein as well. And so, I want everyone to rise and to, own their own success. I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Well, even from this conversation, I'm like, I'm ready. I'm empowered, ready to go. It's our month.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Sarah.
Yes, thank you for having me. Yes, thanks for the work that you do.